So how I got started in SEO. This is a long story. It's a bit of a pun, but I'm going to try and make it a short one. And I also want to make it one that hopefully is inspirational for you, for wherever you are on your marketing or your career, the journey you're on. I think there is a lot of points in life where you're given the opportunity to reflect and to grow and to develop. And that's when I really want to communicate as well with this video. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where I grew up, what happened, and that is going to hopefully give some perspective and give you some insights as to why I chose SEO and why I do SEO today for a living. So when I was 9 years old, I moved from England all the way across the other side of the world to Argentina. I didn't even know this country existed. And I've been living here ever since. I've traveled a bit and managed to work overseas, but I've been living here for the past 20 years of my life. Now, before I moved from England to Argentina, I grew up in a pretty normal household. My parents were they were pretty supportive of my education. I went to primary school, but I did grow up in a very, very Christian household with very specific Christian beliefs that inhibited me from having access to the internet. So as a kid, I had zero access to TV, computers, computer games, the internet, social networks, chat, forums, blogs, you name it, I had zero access. And the crazy thing is, I only got access 12 years ago. So what is really interesting is when you are so neglected something in life, it doesn't mean that life can't give it back to you. Sometimes it can, sometimes it will, and sometimes it does. Now, I know everyone's story out there is different, but my story, I started out in you might say in the desert, like the internet desert. There was no internet in my life. I had no idea that even websites existed until I was turning 15. So as I grew up, I didn't have computer games. I didn't have what a typical young kid growing up in England in the early 2000s would be used to, like music, TV, commercials. I grew up with all of that. It wasn't a reality for me. And when I was 9 years old, I moved with my parents from one side of the world to the other. I learned a new language, I went to a new school, I lost all my friends from my neighborhood, from where I grew up. I changed, different church, and all of those things were pretty difficult. At the time, I don't think I felt that they were difficult, but they do play a role. They do play out in life, and they represent themselves in different ways. Anyway, I obviously got stuck into the culture in Argentina. I learned the language, I went to school, and I made new friends, and kind of life just goes on. And the incredible thing is when you're young, you are so flexible and dynamic subconsciously, because you learn new languages in less than a year. You can make new friends in a period of a couple of days or weeks. And although I was initially extremely introvert because it was just a new country with a completely new culture with absolutely no comparison to England, I grew up in Argentina from 9 years old onwards with actually a pretty normal upbringing. Now, there were a few things that were not so normal because I didn't go to a public school. So my parents, in my household, most of the my two older brothers, my brother and sister, my older brother and sister, they actually went to like a Christian school, and it was like a distant learning, like a remote learning project, a remote learning program. And I went to one of the first Christian schools that was inspired by the church itself. Like the church actually built the program, and I actually got a really good education, which they also enrolled us into Cambridge in the last couple of years, which was great. And that is really when the turning point came, because as the church rolled out their education program and incorporated Cambridge, we immediately got IT lessons, and we got, for the first time, access to the internet. Up until I was 15 years old, there wasn't a computer or a mobile phone in my house. I wasn't allowed to touch a mobile phone or a computer. And as a 15-year-old, I was, having fun on my bike, or, playing with my friends, or playing football or soccer. And it wasn't normal. It wasn't normal for us to have access to a mobile phone or a device or a computer. And it was, when my friends were playing computer games, after school, I was, going fishing or going on bike rides. So that is the incredible way that life can so rapidly change. And for me, it's been a really important reflection point ever since. Anyway, when I was 15 and my third to last year before leaving school, before leaving secondary, I managed to get access to the IT program, the IT lessons, and I started to, for the first time, use a computer. And it was 6 months into that program, I first got access to the internet, and it was Internet Explorer. And I remember just being absolutely amazed and taken in and impressed by the immense scope and possibility that there is with the internet. Now, however much bad the internet can represent, proportionately there is the same amount of good. And I just could see that there was just these endless possibilities and scope that the internet had for businesses, for people, for organizations, for learning, for so many different aspects. There was just endless scope. And to this day, that aha moment for me was like, oh, dude, it's exactly what I always go back to when I want to be able to feel like a client or somebody who is on the receiving end of my SEO coaching or training, is deliver that aha moment. Deliver that moment when people are suddenly a whole new spectrum opens up, a whole new vision opens up. And that helps, later on, that helped me with decision making, with problem solving, which are key obviously to a business. So as I progressed through my IT studies, I got access to the internet. I started browsing the internet. I started learning everything I could learn about it. I was fascinated by the liberty and the sense of endless opportunity. And as I progressed, I learned the basics of building a website, the basics of storage and data, and it was just a very initial step into what would end up being a major part of my day-to-day work and what I do today for a career and what I'm very passionate about. So fast track that 3 years, I left school and I went and worked in a business, and that was when I got, I should say, another level of access to the internet and understood more and more about marketing, the digital space, and the power of SEO and visibility. Now, I didn't just automatically find marketing and sales. My last couple of years at school, I did business studies, I did economics, and I wanted to pursue a career in sales and marketing. So I was going and doing extra tertiary studies related to sales and marketing. And as that progressed, I went into a position that was directed towards sales and marketing. So as I went into the business, into the workspace and work within a business, and the understanding all of the processes and what goes on in a business and what makes things really tick, I managed to, at the same time, still keep up to speed and keep learning in my spare time everything I could about the internet and websites and visibility and everything that was, you might say, online. Now, when I was 20, I built my first website, and I'm going to tell you the story as to exactly how I found the acronym SEO. So basically what happened was I was sitting it was around 3 or 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and it was a really hot December, late December, and I remember it was before Christmas, and it was a really, really hot afternoon, and we're sitting in this office, and I was talking with this developer about this website we were launching. So this is 10 years ago. From today, it's around 10 years ago. And he says to me, so obviously we're going to be running some campaigns to the website to drive traffic and drive sales, right? And I remember looking at him, and I remember asking him the question. I said, but what about people that want to find us that don't know who we are? And he just looked at me and said, what do you mean? I remember going, like asking again, like, but how do we reach people who don't know who we are? Like, how do we reach new audiences with the website? Because obviously we'd built up our business on referrals, on our email campaigns, on existing accounts, on working with partners and going to trade shows. And suddenly it occurred to me, well, how about people that, just find us, find our website? And then suddenly
2, 1, 0, all engine running.
It happened. He said, there's this thing called SEO. I'm not too sure what it is, how it works, but he was a developer. He was actually a WordPress developer, and also he was developing an e-commerce website for us. And he said, well, there's this thing called SEO where basically you rank the website and people find your content and they land on your website. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And I remember just going from that meeting, grabbing a white piece of paper and furiously just writing down everything I thought we could do to get traffic to the website. So my first problem was I needed traffic to go to this new website. We just invested a lot of funds and resources on building this new website, and I now needed traffic to go to the website. The obvious question was, what types of traffic can we send? And the developer said, well, look, there's these tracking platforms like Google Analytics we can install that we can actually see what type of traffic is hitting the website. Bear in mind, this is 10 years ago. The platforms were nowhere near as known as they are today. And we were using MailChimp for our CRM. And so we set up Google Analytics. And for the first time I saw it there, organic search. And it was like, wow, like, are you saying that if I can get the website visible for everyone else out there, they can actually come to my website and convert? And it just dawned on me that there was this whole world of visibility. Of course, everyone is searching on search engines. We position our content, we position our website. We're already running ads, but this was organic. This was winning digital real estate, winning positions in Google that meant that people are going to find our content today, tomorrow, next month, and next year, and hopefully in 10 years from now. So it dawned on me that SEO was tremendously important, and that's when I found the acronym. I started researching. And the next thing that happened was really important for my next stage of my career in SEO. So I stumbled across a WordPress community. This WordPress community was a really tight-knit operation of around 200 individual developers, SEO individuals, small business and business owners. And it was a little bit like a modern day Slack group or Facebook group. And what it was an engagement platform where people would literally just blog and there'll be answers. So they'd just write an article or they'll write a small piece of information, and there'll just be like really basic like answers underneath. It was a really basic forum, very basic. And you could search at the top certain things, certain terms, and you would get the results, and you'd be able to actually start finding out about what people are talking and what people are requesting on the platform. So immediately I jumped onto the platform. I was recommended to get to this platform because I did some research and I found this forum, and I joined the forum and I just started bombarding this place with questions. And during that period of time, I built this website, launched this website, and we were trying to get it ranking. And obviously SEO was our go-to strategy. And somebody reached out from that community and said to me, hey Jason, I noticed, asking a bunch of questions, and do you want to have a chat? Do you want to have a conversation? And maybe we can talk a little bit more about SEO. So I jumped onto Skype, and we had a conversation. Neither of us had our cameras turned on, and I still don't know the first name of the gentleman. He had a I don't know, like a stage name or a game name. And he explained to me what SEO was. And he then pitched me a service, which was back in the day considered like a black hat service, which I unfortunately didn't spend much time researching till later on. And back in the day, it was very much like black hat and white hat, or, you know, dark SEO and non-dark SEO. It was like off page, on page. It was still very much siloed. And what we do today, and you might say modern day SEO coaching and training, is we bring together everything. So off page, on page, technical, non-technical, content, etc. So he was very much focused on off page SEO, what you might say black hat SEO. And this was like backlinks, domain authority, you know, proxy, CTR manipulation, and so on and so forth. And he was actually pitching me his services. So this was 10 years ago, and I was like, wow, like there's a whole world out there. So he actually helped me, point me in some direction, because I asked him a lot of questions, and we kept our chats going until a year ago. We were still in communication. I still don't know who he is, and I still have never met him or seen him face to face. But the point is he helped me understand the structure and the processes and the way the SEO world has evolved, and point me in a lot of directions. Some were rabbit holes, others were very important doors I opened to understand more about the scope and the landscape, so I can help build winning strategies and avoid pitfalls. So as I developed this expertise, I built numerous websites. I left my previous job, and I went on to start from absolute scratch, just publishing my services online, doing SEO, keyword research, website optimization. And since that day, which was November 2019, I've helped more than 100 websites. I've optimized thousands of pages, thousands of blog articles, and I've built myself a reputation in the industry for understanding SEO holistically, and from a transparent perspective, communicate and articulate this to businesses and organizations. And that was really just a very long journey of repeating processes, looking for opportunities to make them more efficient, looking for opportunities to make them better, and most importantly, understanding what people need. And there are 3 points in that time that I want to talk about. The first was when I started my SEO journey back in the day, so 10 years ago. This was early 2009. Early 2009. I was building a very basic e-commerce website, and I had no idea about search engines. I had no idea about structured markup. I had no idea about the purpose of a website. What is it going to do? Who is it going to serve? It was just a static website for just putting people on an email newsletter, like getting that in front of getting them in front of the content. Now, the first thing I realized that, and still one of the first things I work on today with my clients and projects, is before you build an SEO strategy and choose SEO recommendations for your website, you need to have an absolute clear understanding as to what the vehicle is doing, who is it communicating to, and why are you trying to influence them? Because that is going to inform so many other parts of your SEO strategy. So that's one thing that I'd say was a turning point, and I always reflect back onto it. Because if you can understand your business profile, as in what you're doing, what your use case is, who you are trying to influence, and why, you have a huge head start when it comes to creating an SEO strategy. You niche down, very specific to what you're doing, be laser tight, and then you can grow out. There are so many options when you can start using that approach. The second thing that I understood is that a website with no traffic is absolutely useless. And I often have this saying, which is, if you create content that gets no visibility, there is no value. So when you have a website, when you're creating content, one of the things I learned also along the way is you can create a lot of content that doesn't get any visibility because it's not traffic worthy. There is no value. And that's why I created this scope, or I should say this program called Organic Visibility. It's all about becoming visible via organic search. But the most important part is creating content that is going to be traffic worthy. And there's especially at the point of time we are today with ChatGPT and algorithms and AI and so on and so forth, it's very important that value will always trump. What search engines are looking for more than anything else is intrinsic value. And if you can produce that, then your content becomes traffic worthy. There are technical aspects to that. There's lots of dependencies, there's lots of nuances, but that ultimately is at the core of driving traffic. So a website has thousands of pages that isn't traffic worthy won't get any visibility, has no value. Now, the third thing I learned, which was definitely later on, is I'd been executing on SEO projects. I'd been working 60, 70, 75-hour weeks, pushing crazy hours, just optimizing, executing, and reporting back to my clients and realizing that this was only as scalable within these four walls that I was working in. It was very limited. Now, I knew that I didn't want to build a 1,000-hour agency. I knew that I didn't want to build an agency with lots of employees and a big, heavy structure, because I really wanted to be on the forefront of implementation engagement with different organizations and businesses, because that also nurtured my SEO knowledge. And that's when I realized the importance of training and coaching. And since then, I have made a transition from execution to training and upskilling and helping teams develop systems and processes that are SEO aligned, and they can build an SEO-led content strategies that creates content that gets traffic, that gets visibility, that gets engagement. And since then, I've gone on to help businesses such as Ubix Security, Soul Cyber, Evolve Artist, Sabre Limited, Edison, Sales Tool Pro, Track with Ease, ViewMind, amongst many others. So these businesses have helped me also understand what they need to move the needle in SEO, and every business has a unique need. And the beauty behind SEO coaching and training is you can really sit in the driver's seat with the organization and understand what is going on and what do they need to move their project forward. So that is a little bit about my story, how I started out, how I moved across to the other end of the earth, and how you might say the first 10 or 15 years of my life, I had absolutely zero knowledge of anything digital, to the point of where I'm absolutely consumed. I have a laptop, an iPad, a phone. I'm the whole time on the internet. And that is the beauty of being able to be flexible and giving yourself a chance. I really believe in consistently being present with my clients, with organizations I'm working with. And I'm really proud to say that I have built relationships thanks to SEO that have stood the test of time. So if you're interested in any SEO projects, or you're about to embark on a project, or you're about to migrate your website or acquire a new domain, or you're looking for some SEO assistance, reach out and just schedule a free discovery call. I'm happy to look at your SEO strategy currently, create an assessment, and you might be able to take something away from that will help you understand better what you can do to move your SEO forward in your business. Give me some suggestions in the comments or send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.